Welcome to episode 32 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic. Well, it's been a while since we got any reviews on iTunes. So if you're out there listening, hopefully we have more than 2 people listening because that's how many reviews we have. um, if you're listening to us on iTunes or just catching us, please let us know what you think. Same thing still holds. If you do a review, we'll give you a shout out on the podcast the very week that you do it. So
Absolutely. Leave reviews, leave comments. You can find us a number of ways at Chew on This Pod on Twitter, at Chew on This Pod on Instagram, Chew on This Podcast at gmail.com, and we're on Facebook. We're everywhere. But mainly on iTunes. Get on iTunes, give us a rating, and give us a comment. We'll give you a shout out.
Yep. So we just the way that we're recording this or doing this, the one big thing that happened this week is the season finale, season 6 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
what was your initial reaction of that?
Well, I think it differed from yours. Probably a lot of people out there that watch Game of Thrones are probably going to hate me right now, but I felt like there were some really cool moments in it, but for me, it felt like it was really rushed. If they had another maybe 20 minutes or so, I think they could have. I think I would have been a little more satisfied. But it was good. I mean, it was really good compared to some of their other season finales. And definitely looking forward to season 7 because this season I think overall was really good.
It didn't start off. It didn't start off the best for both of us, mainly because we had known kind of the fan theories that have been going on for a while now, way before the show even started, and so when the first couple of episodes happened, they weren't really doing anything. I almost felt like they kind of had to get back into everybody's storyline because there were so many storylines going on, and it took like 2 or 3 episodes to do that. I think John came back in the 4th episode. So that was was it the 4th episode or 2nd episode?
It was either 3rd or 4th. I can't remember now, but you just hit something there because like John, they pretty much follow all along, but like Bran and Hodor, like you don't see them like they weren't in season 5 at all, and so you see him in season 6 and he's like all grown up.
Yeah,
it's like I'm getting married next week. It's like no, like you were little like a year ago. It's crazy.
right.
There were just so many storylines that I mean 10 episodes just didn't feel like it was enough
No, it
to
never
tell
does.
all of it.
I mean, the books are like 3,000 pages, 5,000 pages
Yeah,
long.
they're something like that. They're just enormous. Probably why the other one's taking so long to finish. Because we're in weird territory right now where the stories surpassed the books, and so they're probably asking him all sorts of questions like where are these guys going to end up, like what you need to tell us, and then they're just writing dialogue. I mean, I have no
I
idea.
think most recently they said they have 2 seasons left.
Yes,
So
that's their end
we'll
game. Their
we'll
end
get
game.
2 full seasons. So my opinion on the finale was a little bit probably different than yours. I mean, I really liked it. I can see the rushed aspect, but what I loved about the season finale was that unlike other season finales, they closed a lot of storylines and opened up a brand new one for next season. So
Mm-hmm.
like there was a lot of badass moments in this episode. I mean, the episode beforehand was really badass too with the Battle of the Bastards was freaking awesome.
Yes, God, what an amazing episode. Yeah.
But this one was really good because of how they closed the loopholes on a lot of other stories, like the whole. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was getting tired of Arya's storyline because it for the most 2 seasons, like this season anyway, she was just getting the shit beat out of her every episode, and her storyline kind of tanked a little bit, and then all of a sudden, she pulls off like she finally gets revenge for
The Red Wedding.
yeah. Um, Spoilers. Fuck.
Yeah.
Um, that was fucking
Yeah,
badass
she killed
moment.
Frey. Frey, I think,
Yeah.
is his last name.
Yep.
Yeah. That I
And
think that was the one moment in the show where I jumped out of my seat and I said, "Kill that motherfucker!" Like I was so happy.
yeah.
Like because Battle of the Bastards, when Ramsey died, I thought that was a fitting end. I think I kind of would have liked something a little more gruesome, but I guess how could you get more gruesome than your own dogs eating your face? But
Well, have you noticed that this season, because it's the first season that deviates from the books, because it doesn't, well, it really deviates from the books more like unlike any other season. But this is the first season where nobody knows what's going on. Like, there's no book for
right,
season 6. That's the book he's actually working on now. But did you notice in this season that there's like less nudity, less gratuitous nudity, and like less like gratuitous violence too? Like there wasn't like grotesque violence in in this
yeah,
season.
it felt that was one of the things is stylistically or however you want to call that. It felt different from the other seasons, and then but this last episode felt more like Game of Thrones to me. And the Battle of the Bastards felt more like that too. But some of the episodes, I was like, this just has a weird feeling to it. Like I don't know, just the way they were storytelling. You could almost tell that they're like, oh crap, we don't have the normal like handbook, the Bible to like go
Well,
by
isn't
to
he like 75% done with the book? The
something
book
like
that's
that.
so it. I guess if it was parallel, you could say that like the first half of this season wasn't as strong because they were still trying to get into or try to still use what Martin has already written. I don't know if that's true or not. But then towards
Maybe.
the latter half of from maybe episode 5 on, like every single one was really strong, and so was the season finale. And then finally, they they confirm basically the fan theory that's been going on for years um,
Yeah,
in this
R
episode.
plus R plus J equals S, right? R plus L equals S.
Yes, R plus
I
L
think it's
equals
R plus
no
L. Yeah,
R plus L equals J.
R plus L equals J. Right. Yeah, Jon Snow. Yeah, yeah. They finally, Bran finally, went back and followed his dad up the steps and saw the baby born. And then I really like that edit job where they faded out and it was like John's face, and you're like, okay, like, but
But
they didn't.
that still doesn't confirm whether or not he is the prince promised, right? That doesn't.
Right,
So you still don't know that because it still could be. It's still you don't know if it's Daenerys or John.
right. Well, they could be cousins, right?
Yeah,
They could
but
be they could
I
be like
thought,
related somehow.
yeah, but what the cool thing was about this episode was that it set up a potential showdown between the two because it seemed like for the first time Daenerys like showed something different where she wasn't only just trying to get back the Seven Kingdoms under Targaryen rule and free slaves. She was just hell bent on being queen. Um, and that was kind of shown in that exchange with her lover, I can't remember his name, and the exchange with Tyrion at the end of her storyline for this
Y-
episode.
Oh, totally. Yeah, it was kind of reminiscent of because they showed like one episode where they showed the Mad King being killed by Jamie Lannister,
Yes, you're right, right,
and
right. And I think well that's something we'll get into too. But I for this one, I immediately thought when she was saying, alluding to the fact that she really just wants to be queen and everything that she's doing is going to make sure that she's queen. And then all of a sudden, if she finds out halfway through that this guy exists, that he's actually the rightful heir to the throne, not her. And I feel like if she goes to Westeros and finds out that that happens, that she'll fight John, and John doesn't have an army like that, and doesn't have the 3 dragons. So,
no, get his ass kicked. But right now the villain right now is Cersei.
well, yeah, I mean
I
that was the other
mean,
thing when you brought up Jamie. I was thinking that when he walks in, he's kind of like, "What the fuck just happened?" Like he's kind of surprised about what's going on, and she's sitting on her
yeah.
throne, and they have that like kind of like dramatic stare at each other,
Oh,
and what's crazy is like if you remember back to, and they've been setting this up for 4 episodes now with the flashbacks about what Jamie did to kill the Mad King, and Cersei did what the Mad King did, or was trying to prevent the Mad King from doing, was use that shit to like burn like innocent people. or whatever, and
Yes.
she fucking, did what he stopped the Mad King in doing, and now all of a sudden, the person that he's in love with did the thing that he tried to stop, and I'm like thinking, is Jamie gonna fucking kill her?
Oh, I don't
Because
know,
she's
man. I don't
lost
think
it. She's
maybe I don't think
completely
she'll
lost it.
ever. I don't think he'll ever kill her because he loves her. I mean, I know it's gross, but like he's in love with this sister. I don't think. I think he will do her bidding or whatever it takes.
I
But
know, but I got a feeling that look that he had, there was something about that look like, holy fuck, she's crazy. Because,
I
like,
might have to take my sister out.
right, exactly. Because now, like, the prophecy, remember, like, I think it was this season where it was early on where she went to see, like, a fortune teller or something and said that she would have 3 kids and none of them would live and she would die on a throne. And I forget how it was worded, or I don't think it was die on the throne, but I forget how it was worded, but she was supposed to be killed by somebody. And the way that it was worded, the fortune teller kind of alluded to that it might be Jamie is the one that might kill her now
Oh
that
shit,
everything has
that'd be messed
transpired.
up.
So
Well,
I
I
don't.
mean,
I mean, that's just a
so the
rumor, though.
villain, yeah, so the villain right now is Cersei, definitely Cersei, and then you have like the White Walkers eventually are going to play into this, and then you have Jon and Daenerys on the
Yeah.
on the good. I consider them on the good side. I don't know,
Well, what's funny?
but
So it took them what is it? Season? It was season 6, right? So it
yeah,
took so it took 6 seasons to get from fall to finally winter because I forget who it was in the show that said winter is finally
winter
here
is winter is finally here.
because winter
Not
had been
just
coming for 5 fucking seasons.
not just that, but like I noticed that one dude, that bald dude, kept like uh, traveling so quickly from place to place. Like he's
Yeah,
and then I read a Facebook post about it, and it made me giggle because I'm like, oh my god, like I was thinking that same thing. And then they were trying to explain, the
yeah, it's really
promptness or how
subtle because of the ships have different flags on it, and that's how he got back so fast. It
right,
kind of
right,
jumps around, like there's no like lineage to like everybody's storyline is different.
yeah,
So there's no set time frame like when John, wins at Winterfell, it's not the same thing as when it's not the same time frame as when Daenerys uses the dragons finally
right,
to
right.
win a
It's really
war.
jagged. You have to
Yeah.
really pay close attention. Yeah,
And it's really
but
not that big of a deal. I mean, I'm sure like when they converge it'll be what it is, but it doesn't really matter right now. I mean, yeah, that was a minor nitpick, but if you go back and look at the episode, you'll see the different flags on the ships.
right
And I mean, that's always a
shows there's
constant issue for
different
me because, like,
timelines.
yeah, there's a different. I mean, that's an ongoing issue for me. Is the same with the names of everybody. If they're not the main character, I don't know their names,
Yeah, I
unfortunately.
can't remember them either. But yeah, it seems like, some characters take forever to get from point A to point B, and then other characters are just flying through everywhere. Like they're here, they're there, they're all over the place, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
But yeah, I did like the fact that they tied up some storylines. Arya is, total badass. I love that was my favorite part of the whole episode where she pulls the mask off. Actually, she says when he asks where his sons are, and then she's pretty much they're in the food. You're like, oh shit, and
yeah.
then that
I
was
thought of
so
South Park.
awesome.
I thought of South Park when that happened. There's an episode where Cartman gets revenge on Scott Tenorman, the fourth grader, where
Hmm.
he gets Scott Tenorman's parents killed, and he fucking grinds them up in a chili and feeds them to Scott Tenorman. So basically the kid is eating his parents, and
That
Cartman
sounds
like
awful.
Cartman, yeah, and Cartman's like, "Oh, let me taste your tears," and he walks up to Scott Tenorman and starts licking his tears.
That's what the hell's the matter with that show?
Oh,
Oh
it's
my
fucking
god.
awesome. It's so good. But I mean, when she did it in Game of Thrones, I was like, "Oh my god, this is fucking awesome." But I was thinking, I was like, "Oh, South Park did it first." Like,
Oh
South
my
Park beat him
gosh,
to it.
that's so funny, man. I have to check that out. I'm so far behind
That's
on
one of my
South Park,
favorite
but
episodes. It's one of my favorite episodes of South Park.
mine was the Warcraft one for the longest time. That was really funny.
I love the part in that one when is that the one where Cartman tells his mom he's gonna shit, and like he just like doesn't get up and he just shits all over her. Like she's got like a bedpan, right, and he just bends
Yeah.
over and just shits all over her.
Some people don't leave that game. There've actually been like people dying playing that game because they
Yeah,
played it
that's
for hours and
ridiculous.
hours, not sleeping, not eating, not drinking. Yeah, it's bad for the system.
So
But you know,
overall, season six ended really on a high note. Again, the last 5 episodes really well. Started kind of slow for us, but I think it was a pretty satisfying season six finale, and even more satisfying and even more shocking if you don't do what we do, like as nerds, and go online and try to read rumors or try to read, fan theories and stuff like that. Because could you imagine your reaction to that episode if you did not know the fan theory?
yeah, absolutely. You just be like
So
blown away.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but okay, let's move on to what you did tonight, which is watch the the BFG, which for the Steven Spielberg movie that was just released, and
Yes.
I cannot get past. I always want to say the big fucking giant, and I know that's
Big
not.
fucking gun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or no, well, for me, it's the big fucking giant. And like, because I keep watching the trailers, and it's the big fucking giant. I know it's not the big fucking giant. What is it actually?
It's big friendly giant.
Oh, okay. I like the big fuck. I like the big fucking giant better.
Which is alluded to like in the toward the middle, or spoilers for the movie by the way, but
So
toward
it,
the middle
yeah.
of the
So
movie they
this was number 9 on your most anticipated. It wasn't even
yes.
on my list because I didn't even know what the fuck it was. You read the book. It's not certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's right. It's teetering
It's
on that.
pretty
It's at
close.
Yeah, it's at
Yeah.
73%, I believe, or actually, it's at 71% now. So it's
Okay, so it went down a little bit
yeah,
since this
it's
morning.
dropping. Okay, wait, I just refreshed it. It's at 72%. So now it's at
um
72%.
yeah, Roald Dahl, I mean, all of you guys out there know who Roald Dahl is because he wrote some really prolific, children's books like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and the Fantastic Mr. Fox and Matilda, James the Giant Peach. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And BFG was one of the books that my fourth grade teacher read to us that I mean, I absolutely loved, and it's stuck in my brain for all this time. And so when they announced a couple years ago that Spielberg this would be his next movie, I was really super excited, leery but super excited. And I have to say, overall, I thought it was a really like I don't know, I'm going to use the word cute. It was a really cute movie. It wasn't. It wasn't awful by any stretch of the means, and it wasn't like the greatest thing ever. But it was like, I mean, I think 70 something percent is right on the money for it. It's going to be like one of those classic films like Elf and stuff like that. I believe also it'll stand the test of time because it was a really good adaptation of the book. Um, so just some technical things about it. Well, not technical, but like things about the movie before I get into the actual plot and all that stuff. But this was written by Melissa Matheson, who, if you guys don't know who that is, she wrote a little movie, just a tiny movie called E.T., years ago. And she worked with Spielberg on that. And I think since then, she really hasn't really done much. And then she helped him adapt the BFG to a screenplay, and then she passed away last year, which is a bummer. And I think she was even married to Harrison Ford for a while, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
Um,
well, she's done a couple of things. She mainly is a writer. She's only been a producer once, but like you said, she did E.T. She did Twilight Zone the movie, which is a nice. I like that movie. She did Always, and
oh,
she did
yeah,
the Indian in the Cupboard, which it's okay. The adaptation's okay for me. It kind of lost a little bit. I remember that book and really loving that book as a kid, and I thought it wasn't as great in movie form. I don't know. I just didn't like it for some reason.
hmm
But I mean, it's rated 70% on Rotten Tomatoes. But but she doesn't do a lot. Like
no,
she goes years without. She goes a few years without writing anything. But
yeah,
obviously, ET is the big thing on her list.
yeah. I mean, way to like, it's almost like an Orson Welles thing, just like one huge thing in the beginning and then nothing for a long time. Um, but I mean, I guess if you're gonna peak or if you're gonna write a movie, it's gonna be E.T. I mean, shit, you know,
I mean, yeah, if that's all
that's
I if I ever did something even remotely close to ET, I probably would never want to do anything again.
right. You're like, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm out of
that's
here.
it. Shot my load. I'm done. I got nothing left.
Right. I'm George Costanza. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Spielberg directed it. You know, again, he's in top form, man. I mean, the guy is like just visually. I mean, it's got a lot of playfulness and it's right up his alley. The dialogue is super good and done real well. Like they hired the right actors to play these roles. I think Mark Rylance is BFG, Ruby Barnhill, which is I think a newcomer. She plays Ruby, and I thought at first like I thought it was a boy, but it is a little girl, and she's like really spunky and super smart and brave. They call her brave in the movie because she's not like afraid and stuff like that. Um, one of the giants is played by the guy from Flight of the Conchords. I can't remember what. It's probably the main giant. Can't remember all the names. There's the really weird names, you know, like Flesh Eater and Bone Crusher and stuff like that. All the giants have all these funky names. And then Bill Hader, I think, is one of the giants and whatnot.
So they
But
have
I
all
didn't.
funky. They have all funky names, and he's just called BFG.
Well, I think he actually has a name, but she calls him that. She calls him BFG, and then like she says, what it means because he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, and she's like, big friendly giant. He's like, okay, you can call me that. But later on in the movie, she stumbles upon like a room and she goes in there and it's like um, there's all this stuff around the room and you find out that he at one point a boy had seen him wandering around the city before, so he had to like snatch him and take him back to giant country because he can't be seen and he can't have a kid telling everybody about giants. So he just kidnapped him, and I guess he met a really bad end. Probably the giants found him and ate him, I think is what they alluded to. So the movie begins the same way. Like the BFG's wandering through the city, and she stumbles upon him, and he snatches her up because hey, you can't see giants, so you need
Right then
to
and
come
there,
come with me.
you've lost me. Right then, because like it's a big fucking giant in the city of what, London, and one
Yeah.
girl is the only one that is awake, like that sees her or sees him.
Well, it's an orphanage, and she explains like through narration that she has insomnia and that she stays up real late, and that the stories go that if you're up and wandering around late at night, you might something bad could happen to you, kind of thing.
Do you
And
know how
so
many
she's
times
like,
I would have seen a big fucking giant in college if that was the case?
yeah, but I don't think you had insomnia. I think you were just
It
plastered.
doesn't matter. I was still up.
You were on the floor, and anyone standing above you looked like a giant.
Maybe. Probably would have thought I
um,
was tripping and wasn't imagining shit.
but because this was written a long time ago, it's you can kind of forgive the notion of like kidnapping kids, taking them somewhere, taking them to your house, because I don't think that would really fly right now. But like, she pretty much is upset at first that he takes her, and then he's like, "Well, what do you like about the orphanage? What do you like back home?" She's like, "I hate it actually," and he's like, "Okay, then shut up," So she lives there for a while and like talks to him and gets to know him and all that stuff. And he's like what he does is like he's a dream collector. He goes up way high up in this mountain and he collects these dreams. They look like fireflies with different colors, and he puts them in jars. And then he goes back down to his house and he puts them on shelves and whatnot. And then at certain points of the night, like kind of like creepy Santa Claus, leaving gifts, he leaves dreams. So like he has this trumpet and he hooks the dream up to it and he blows it through the window, and then it goes inside the kid or whoever's mouth, parents, whatever, in their mouth, and then they start dreaming. And he tries to give him good dreams. Now there are bad dreams as well, and that kind of comes into play a little bit later. I don't want to spoil the entire movie. I mean, this is something you could,
Well, I wasn't going to
you
see
could
it
watch
because it
with your
wasn't on my
kid.
list. So go ahead. So he
But
he
I mean,
takes he takes these fireflies and blows them in kids' mouths.
exactly. Um, he does. He does.
He
And
sounds like
and
an
then they dream.
asshole.
It, but where it gets really kind of weird is that the giants they
Oh,
can
that's
sniff.
wait. You just said when it
Uh,
gets really weird. You
it,
just told me a
yeah,
big
yeah.
fucking giant blows fireflies of dreams in kids' mouths, and then it's gonna get weird.
That's right. It gets weirder. So, so the big giants they discover that the human being there's a human being around, and because they could sniff it out, and so they finally I don't know. There's like this huge set piece where they're trying to find her, and this the animation. I have to say, like at first, I didn't really like the way the giants looked, and then I just kind of got over it halfway through the movie. I'm like, whatever, and then it just kind of worked because they're not supposed to be like these real things. They're like a I don't know, like a myth or something come to life. So they wouldn't look like like a if they were like a real giant kind of thing. They look a little different. And so I just kind of bought it and said whatever. But the CG and everything was so good that you kind of forgave it after a while. You're like, "Oh wow, this like you really believe this thing is carrying her around and talking to her and shit like that because she's reacting fantastically to it. Probably again, they probably use motion capture like how Robert Zemeckis uses for all his movies, like Beowulf and what is it, the Jim Carrey one, the Ebenezer Scrooge one, that kind of stuff. And so anyway, um, but yeah, the weird thing is that she tells him, "Look, we need the help of humans." So she tells him to take her to the queen, and and they concoct this like weird dream and they put it in her mouth and all that, and she wakes up like freaking out. She's like, oh my god, there's giants and they kidnap people, kids, and they kill them and all that stuff, and they're like, what the hell, what's your problem? And and she's like, no, no, I just dreamt this is weird. And then they look in the door in the window and there's the girl, and she's like, you were in my dream. And they start this dialogue, and she's like, look, giants are real, but I have a friendly giant that's going to help us, and we need your help to get rid of these other giants because they're just causing havoc. They're not doing anything. Like he serves a purpose, giving dreams and all that stuff. So they concoct this plan. They run back to giant country, and the people from London follow them back, on helicopters and whatever. And they scoop up all the giants and they take them to this island in the middle of the ocean, and they drop them off there, and then drop off a bunch of seeds so they can plant, make grow food and shit like that. So it's kind of really bizarre. But
But that is
and
that
then
what
he
happened in the book?
yeah, yeah. Pretty
Okay.
much everything that happens in the movie is pretty spot on. I mean, even down to the dialogue, because the giants speak in a really weird way. Like they don't quite know English. They make up all these weird names for things. Um, so that was kind of funny. And the acting, the voice acting, especially from the BFG, is really spot. Like it's really really good. It's really strong.
Well,
Like
if that's the
you
guy from, I think, didn't he win the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor
Mark Rylance, I think so. This last
for
time,
Bridge of Spies? Right? Didn't he win that for
yes.
Bridge of Spies?
I think so.
Was
Yeah,
that
because
him?
Sylvester Stallone did not win. I can't remember. Um, oh man, just gonna have to look it up, I guess. Um,
Yeah, I think he did win. Yeah,
yeah,
he won for Bridge of Spies, which
yeah,
I thought
and
that was a. I
yeah,
mean,
it
he
is.
was
It
good
is
in it,
him
but
because it is him because the giant. I mean, they motion captured his face, obviously, so the giant looks just like him, but slight differences, obviously. Um, so I would kind of put this movie like in the Jumanji range. Like I really like Jumanji, but it's not like the greatest movie in the world. I would put it right around there, or maybe under Jumanji, that type of thing. And it is a kind of I feel it's going to be a classic movie that'll play for years and years and years to come. Kids will want to watch it and stuff like that because it really is like at the core of it. It's a really sweet story, and the little girl, at the end, spoilers, gets adopted, and she actually lives, I think, in the Queen's Palace or whatever, because she gets adopted by her assistants or something like that. Um, and so she then has a place and all that stuff, and then she whispers out the window, I know you can hear me, BFG or whatever. I just wanted to say good morning, and then it like flashes over to Giant Country, and you see him perk up and then look out the window and smile, and then like that's the end of the movie. So like he can hear her, he pretty much can hear everyone around the world, like he but or just in that area actually, because he goes there and dumps dreams off and all that stuff. But they never did explain like if he concocted bad dreams to put in their heads. I don't know where the bad dreams come from or how they get
So
into kids' heads,
where
but
does he spit the fireflies if they're bad dreams? Does he still put them in his their mouths?
he captured whenever they find one. There are very few and far in between. So like there's a lot of regular dreams, like there's like yellow and blue and green and all that. The red ones obviously are like the bad ones, and like she finds one and grabs it. She's like, "Look, I caught one," and he's like, "Oh, give that to me. Don't give that to me very carefully." And he grabs it and he throws it in the jar, and he's like, "These." We have a special place for these, like in my hut, whatever. Like I'm gonna put these away. But yeah, he eventually like pulls one out and uses that to convince the queen that there's a problem. They mix a whole bunch of different dreams together and like whip it up in this mixer thing and shove it in the trumpet, and then he blows it into her window, and it goes down her mouth. It's so goofy. I know it sounds so goofy explaining it. When you watch it, you're like, just believe. You're like, oh, okay. But like now that I'm explaining it, it just sounds ridiculous. Like he's raping them, mouth raping him.
This big fucking giant spits dreams into kids' mouths.
That's right. That's right. It's like I don't know why. I looked at my it's not my fiance anymore, my wife. I look over and I'm like, why did that go in their ears? Why did that go in their mouth? Like I think maybe even sometimes it went up their nose, but I just thought even that's kind of weird. Why does it go just in through their ears?
Well, just be lucky
So
it went up their mouths and nowhere else.
just like dream cocaine. Yeah, it could just go right up their ass. I guess. I mean that
That's
get
where the bad dreams go.
you. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, my ass hurt. So yeah, you had a bad dream. Um, yeah. So anyway, so the plot was kind of, it was basic, and you pretty much, I mean, it was.
There's nothing about this plot that sounds basic.
So here's even something weirder. I watched, believe it or not, I've never watched this movie all the way through because I've always just, I don't know, fell asleep or whatever. But I watched Sling Blade this morning, and that's with Billy Bob Thornton plays that.
Right.
Um, the guy who can't, he's just really slow, and he killed his mom and all that weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he has that weird voice, like he talks like this, and goes, that kind of thing. And
Right.
so I'm watching BFG, and I'm cracking up because I'm like, oh my god, it's Sling Blade, because he's saying the funkiest things, like the hog swattler, all this weird like stuff, and I was just cracking up inside. I'm like, oh my god, it's Sling Blade. Don't kill moms.
Sling
Um,
Blade is blowing dreams inside kids' mouths.
that's right. take take it up your take it in your mouth. Yeah. But there you go. There's my BFG review. I think 70%, 73. I think that's pretty spot on, I'd say. And I don't think, I mean, the source material only lends itself so much. Like it's kind of one of those movies or books that would be really tough to adapt. But she did it. I mean, and she did the best that she could, and it is what it is. It's not, again, not the best thing I've ever seen, but it was pretty solid, and it's something we'd watch in the future, with their kids and whatnot. We still have a couple little ones at home. I'm sure they would enjoy that. But the other thing is they showed probably more trailers than I had seen in a really long time. I counted like 7 or 8. It
Wow,
was
that's a lot.
ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
Anything you didn't see
Um,
before?
um, just about everything except for The Secret Life of Pets. I've seen that ad like a million times, but everything else was new. I finally got to see the Pete's Dragon trailer everyone's been talking about. That looked really good.
That looks weird because like the Pete's dragon or well the dragon is like hairy and green.
Yeah, again, that's their stylistic choice. Just like with the BFG, it doesn't look photoreal. It just looks like a CGI giant. Like I felt like if they made the BFG like the giant throughout the entire movie, like everybody was CG that way, I think I would have had a better time, believing it or watching it. I think, but the fact that it was live action, um, again, a heavily CGI'd movie. We talked about this before. It's still, it's just not as, um, I don't know. Like I just can't explain it. Like same thing with Warcraft. Same thing with some other films that came out recently where I just could not get into it because it just did not look real enough to me. Like if they made all the characters look like that, that would make sense, but
Well,
because
I don't
some
think
characters look real and some characters didn't, it messes with my head. I don't like it, you know.
I don't think the lack of all CG in Warcraft was the problem with that movie.
Well, obviously, but I mean that again, I have played Warcraft and I love the animated shit that they have in those games. And every trailer that they put out for those games look phenomenal. I'm like, I want to see that movie, not the shit that they put out. Like again, I'm not a shitting on Warcraft. I mean, I liked Warcraft and I was really hoping I'm a geek and nerd. I love everything. I want everything to be perfect, just like, we always talk about. But that movie was just crap because just I don't know. I don't know. We didn't review it. We saw it, but didn't review it because we didn't want to give it the time of day.
Well,
So
let's clarify that you made me go see it because I didn't want to go see that piece of shit.
yeah, I did. I did. The only reason why you went and saw it is I paid for it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have even. I think
I'm telling you,
snuck in there to just
you
watch
should
it.
have just gave me the $12 and I would have got a beer instead.
You could have got 2 beers.
Yeah, yeah,
But
I would have enjoyed myself a lot more, and it would have made more sense.
it was painful. We'll never get those 2 hours back ever again.
I
But
think that because I don't have time to you know I don't have time and the money to waste on shitty movies that are not something that we want to talk about,
right,
and like a movie like Independence Day was in my top 10, and it was something that I had to watch, and like I would have gone to see it even if it wasn't in my top 10 because of nostalgia reasons.
right.
But for Warcraft, I mean, there was nothing in that trailer that looked appealing to me whatsoever, and it looked like I knew what the storyline was going to be anyway.
Yeah,
So, and you know what? So, I will say though that even though I thought I knew what the story was, the things that happened in that movie, it didn't happen. It didn't happen like I thought they would play out, and it's not a good thing. It's
no.
definitely not a good way where they were trying to surprise me, where like people were being killed off, and I was like, okay, didn't see that coming. Like when the king dies, like for no reason whatsoever, fucking
I
ever.
Uh, yeah, apparently in the game, or apparently that's part of the story, so it's not a big surprise kind of thing, I guess. Like
Oh,
the
really?
kid, yeah, the little baby at the end, everyone was like, "Oh my god, they're doing that thing." I'm just like, I don't know what you're talking about, but whatever. I just thought of Willow immediately. I thought Willow Offgood was going to come out of nowhere and pick that baby up out of the river.
That's funny.
Little
Val
bikini
Kilmer,
baby.
Val
Yeah.
Kilmer's all fat and shit, and it's like, I don't want to
Yeah.
fight this. I don't want
I'm
to fight.
fat and bloated and drunk all the time.
Yeah, I don't want fighting anymore. I'm done.
Yeah, yeah, kill that baby. Just send it down the river. Just let it go.
Yeah,
Um,
don't. If you haven't seen Warcraft, it's not even worth a download. It's just awful.
no, I mean it could be a good drunk podcast at some point, but other than that,
I don't even
or
think so. I
mystery
think I would. I
mystery
think I would get
science theater, that
I
kind of
think I would
thing.
get
But
mad if I had to watch that movie again. Like I
yeah,
would just be
I won't
pissed.
ever watch it again. But I have a feeling they're going to make a sequel because it's just blown up in China. It's doing ridiculous business
Well,
overseas. But
yeah, heavy CG and shitty plot. It's perfect for China.
just make it all Chinese dialogue and just make it over there.
Yeah,
Just put it
don't
out over
release it
there.
over here. Don't release it here. Don't subject us to that shit.
Right. um so, besides like catching up on movies, like Sling Blade and stuff like that, which, again is like 20 something years old. I don't know why. I just now watched it, but I just felt compelled because it was on Amazon Prime. But something else popped up on Amazon today. The one movie I did not see in the Oscar pool, because I always watch the Oscar movies when they get nominated. I start watching them one at a time. But I didn't watch Room because I didn't like the subject matter. Not that it's bad subject matter, but I just didn't want to see it because I didn't want my heart broken. I was scared to watch that movie.
Wait, don't
But
spoil it for me because I haven't seen that yet, and that's one of the ones I wanted to see.
okay, it's fucking good.
Okay.
Brie Larson is fucking awesome. So
Okay.
so now that they've been talking about Captain Marvel and her possibly being in the role, I'm 150% for that. Like as before, I was like, oh, I guess she kind of looks like her. I've only seen her in a few things before that, and United States of Terra was a really good show that she was on, and a couple other things that she was in. But she's crazy fucking good in this movie. So yeah, watch it. I think you'll dig it. But anyway, shit, that's about all I got to say about the BFG. Pretty much spoiled the whole goddamn thing, but it's a good, it's a good movie.
So what's your so let's go through the rating for you. What's your chainsaw rating?
I will give it. We're doing this out of 5, right?
Yep.
I will give it 3.5 chainsaws out of 5.
3.5. Okay. And what's the diversity here? Does it have a plethora of diversity?
No, I'd say Casper all the way. There wasn't
Casper
a
all the way.
single. Yeah, it was all white people across the board. Well, I mean, mostly it focused on the girl, and she was white. And then the giants, I don't know if you categorize that as diverse, but there wasn't Chinese or African American giants. So, um, so yeah, I'd say Casper, but I think because it lends itself to, I mean, what the story is, that it doesn't lend itself, is what I meant, to diversity. But again, you could say missed opportunity, or you could say, well, that's just the way it is, because it's not a lot of people in it. So,
oh, there's not a lot of people.
no, I mean, it's mostly the girl and the giant through most of it, and then at the end, you meet the queen and all the guardsmen. They're all white. The soldiers, the people that guard the queen, the assistant to the queen. They're all white.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through the IMDb page, and I don't see one colored person even in the listing.
Yeah, that's a bummer, because a lot of the like, there's 9 giants besides the BFG, and so if they didn't get someone of color um, doing those roles, that doesn't make any sense. Because like, there, you can't tell. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
you can hire whoever you want. The guy Bill Hader does so much voice work. It's like, geez, get somebody else. The guy
Wait,
that's from
I
Flight of the
think I found somebody of color. Either that or he's really tan.
Shit.
No,
But anyway,
I can't tell if he is or not.
well, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's pretty Casper. So,
all right.
Well,
step
again,
it up,
those of you that,
Spielberg. What the hell?
yeah, I know you did The Color Purple and Amistad. What's the matter with you? You know.
Well, it's probably because of the source material was written so far back then.
It pretty much is it. I don't really fault it for that, except for the giants. I mean, you could have got anybody to play the voices of those giants, but
right, exactly.
Other than that, I mean, the girl, she did a great job, and yeah, but no, it's a good movie. I do recommend it,
so
especially for kids.
3.5 chainsaws and Casper.
Yes. And so those of you that don't remember, or maybe you didn't listen to the last episode, but we have a new diversity rating system, essentially, that if it's Casper, it means really little to no diversity. If it's a Jan Brady, it's about somewhat diverse. And if it's El Guapo from Three Amigos, it's a plethora of diversity, which we have yet to use that. Hopefully in some movies moving forward, we'll be able to use plethora, but everything's been pretty much...
off the top of my head, I can't think of any right now.
Yeah, everything's been pretty much Jan Brady all the way down to Casper, but we'll see.
Off the top of my head, I would probably say maybe Doctor Strange and Rogue One, possibly both of those.
Yeah, I'd have to say that too, especially Rogue One. Definitely, just by watching the trailer, they've got a lot of diversity in it.
Yeah.
But all right, folks. Well, this was kind of a mini casserole episode, I guess you could say. But basically, Game of Thrones season 6, big thumbs up, big chainsaws in the air, big lightsabers in the air. I like the BFG 3.5 chainsaws. Go watch it if you haven't already. But that was episode 32 of Chew on This, a Nerds United podcast. I'm BJ.
Vic.
Chew on that. Till next time.
Later.